Alright, the time has come for another video for C Sharp. So this one is monogame, so 3D models and stuff, and I'll show it running at the end because, it's cool, gotta save the best part for last. But for now, let's get into the code. Also, the server explorer is just up from last time. That's unrelated to any of this. So I'll go into the game first. So here, let's see that it's a game. It's a game class. So this is like the main where it does most of the work to actually load the models and put them on the screen. They each have like draw methods, but this has to run those. So here, graphic stuff. It gets the graphics device manager. It sets the content folder, so it sets it to this because this is content. Graphics full if it's kind of basic stuff, stuff that isn't necessarily 3D model related, kind of just window related. Then this initializes, so base is kind of like this itself. Then here we have an array list of the models, the current model. That'll make sense in a second, and same with these. And then aspect ratio, that's pretty self-explanatory. And then here, so this makes sprite batch with graphic device. And then here is this is all the models that are on screen. So see, there's two different types. So there's a stationary model, which takes one vector, which is kind of like where it is in 3D space. And then these take two because you have, I'll show it here in this for a second, moving model, where it is in 3D space and its rotation velocity. So, oh, wrong one. Game. So then for each model, we had to make them the model abstract and then inherit things from it. So what this does, it does nothing for the stationary model and then does stuff for the model. But it is very nice because these can be models, and then since they inherit, this just works. It just calls the separate methods from each of them. And then here, this just gets the aspect ratio, and then this sets up the graphics, which is for color. Then here, this is update, so update like every millisecond, something like that. I said every millisecond in there, but it's like probably 60 frames a second because that's kind of the standard. 60, 30, 25 is also kind of standard depending on what you're doing, but yeah. So this has a lot of the key presses because obviously you press a key, you want it to update. So this is for exit. This is the mouse state, the keyboard state, and then here, see, exit, another one. Then these are for rotation. That's the arrow keys, and then this is I had to do like just dots because see these are X, Y, Z does not work because you have to take into account the position of the camera. So that's what this little normalize, it takes that into account to see what the forward direction is because the forward direction isn't necessarily Z, and when I put Z it went up. So that's why you kind of like have to take into position the camera, so then just multiply that by the actual amount you want to move when the key is pressed. And I did these on the numpad just so that's a lot of keys that aren't normally used all in the same spot. So that was just kind of handy. And then this changes what model is currently being moved. That'll be kind of hard to show because I only have one stationary one in here, but that's neither here nor there. And then this is gamepad stuff. I don't have. I do, but I don't think it would work for this. But because it's like gamepad, but I don't know if it would register. So I didn't really muck with that. And then here, move the models. Like I mentioned, for the stationary, move just does nothing. And then for the other one, for the non-stationary, it actually does move. And then you update based off of the game time. And then here is where the actual camera is. So that's what that was up here, camera position, and minus a camera target. So you could do that. And then here, draw the models, which just clear the graphics device, and then for each model, draw taking into account aspect ratio, camera position, all of that stuff, and then draw based off of the game time. So that is the main. Where is? I just want to show that this just runs it. You can see, just new game.run. Then I'll show the abstract. So see, it's abstract, and I just originally it was my model. I renamed it to just model, and because of that, I had to specify these because model is like an actual class that I didn't make, so that's why those are there. So this is the setup graphics. It just sets up the graphics. Set color, never used, but good to have if you want to change the color, of course. This creates a texture for the graphics, which basically just uses that color, and it doesn't work because I'll show I added a 3D model. It doesn't work for that because it's like has like this texture is just color, but it has like actual full textures, and I'll kind of show what I mean with that when I get into the models themselves. So then draw matrix for the bones, and then for each model mesh, then for each basic effect, you just draw, enable the default lighting. It does a bunch of stuff. A lot of it is just kind of what you would expect because you gotta create rotation, transforms on the world, and then here you gotta create the texture, and then eventually draw it, and then here's the abstract move and set random velocity where it's abstract. They don't do anything in here. Then stationary, I'll do that because it's more simple. Yeah, it just has the same constructor except for -1 vector, like I mentioned, and then obviously the base stuff, and then yeah, just move, set random velocity. They're not supposed to do anything, so they don't. And then moving model, same concept, except for there's an extra velocity that I mentioned for the rotation velocity, and my eye is itchy, but we continue going. Set random velocity. It sets a random velocity. See, random next double 3 times. Multiply by 2. Divide by 10 for these. And then here, move, which moves using those. Pretty simple, and then there's just a max, but that's self-explanatory as well, I do believe. And then, so that's it for the actual code. But I want to go. I added my own model and see. Oh my goodness, what's all this? So I added if you know the series Super Smash Brothers, I added a character from that, and it just doesn't work. Like even though the textures aren't loaded properly, the model file contains references to the textures, so they need to be in here, and then so they're in this content folder. And then I'm trying to see if I can find the actual. Yeah, there's the actual model itself because you can see FBX. All of these are PNGs, and then what you have to do to actually add stuff is you have to open this. It comes with the mono game, and then you just have to like drag it in here. So see, these are the actual models. I did have to add it in here, but it's not showing in here, which is kind of weird. Yeah, here's a cube. Oh, okay. Windows don't like that, but yeah, I did have to add it in here, so I don't know why it's not in here right now because it does run. But that is not that relevant. It's just a weird quirk. Because see, it's in this models folder. The name is lowercase Palutena, but see, that doesn't matter, so it should be P, but either way, like I said, I just dragged it in here. It's just not in there for some reason. And it still does run, unless for some reason it just decides not to. But you can see it's in this content models. And then, yeah, so let's run this and see how it goes. It would be sickeningly funny if it just decided not to work, but yeah, here. So here are all the letters. See, they're bouncing around because they are moving, and then back there is the model. It's small, so that's kind of why I wanted to add the move forward and move backward. So that's, I'm trying to remember the controls actually. So see, so you can rotate. I'm gonna try and see if I can get like the character's face here. Also, originally the movement was like uh, 5 units, I guess. I don't really know what you would call it, but 5 units of movement. And I kind of just changed that to 3, and I'm kind of finding out that that still seems to be a little too fast. But yeah, it's the face. There we go. And then just, oh, I'm just messing it up now. But yeah, there we go. Hello. And then see, I'm kind of clipping into that 3D model there because it's right against the camera. But yeah, just wanted to show that. So that's, there we go. That's probably a little better. But yeah, and see, it's in T pose because that's kind of the default for models. And see, I set the color to green, but this is kind of what I mean with the. It should still have like the textures on there, but just because of how it's loaded in this, it doesn't. But yeah, that's kind of it for this one. Messing around with model games super fun. I just uh, really like doing this, and yeah, see you next time.